really great to see you this morning. I had the pleasure of meeting some of you last night at that very exciting event at Greentown Labs. Hope you had a great morning at the Mass CEC blade testing facility. And I'm happy to welcome you here to New Bedford. And it's my pleasure that I get to introduce you to our first speaker of today's program, the Mayor of the City of New Bedford, Jon Mitchell.
Thank you.
I was going to give you your bio.
Oh, you were? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you.
I'd like to say
that was my cue.
I would like to. Whoop.
Don't electrocute yourself, please. The day's just starting, Jen.
I was planning on saying a few. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me try something else. Okay, I wanted to say a few words about you, Mayor Mitchell, before you took the podium. Mayor Mitchell was first elected in 2011. He is New Bedford's 38th mayor. He's been re-elected 4 times, and he is the city's first mayor to be elected to a 4-year term. Jon has sought to reestablish New Bedford as one of the leading cities in the Northeast. He has moved aggressively to reform the city's schools, improve public health, to modernize our port, and to elevate the quality of life in every neighborhood. His approach has paid off. As under Jon's leadership, the city has achieved both the highest bond rating and highest high school graduation rate in history. He's helped to lower crime by nearly 40%, secured hundreds of millions of dollars in new port investments, you can see right out this window today, and has positioned itself to be our city to become the leader in the emerging offshore wind industry. Prior to running for office, Jon was an assistant United States attorney in Boston, having previously served as a federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C., in the Attorney General's Honor Program. During his career, Jon prosecuted cases of national significance, which included his serving as the lead prosecutor on the task force searching for Boston's mob boss, James Whitey Bulger. The product of local public schools and a son of public school teachers, Jon graduated from Harvard College and the George Washington Law School. He also served 6 years in the Army National Guard. He is married and has 3 daughters, and I'm proud to welcome Jon Mitchell to the podium.
All right, good morning, everybody. We arranged, yes, we did arrange for this weather, just in time for all of you to come down and sit in traffic from Boston, but we are pleased to have you all here with us today. And I guess I've asked a lot of people last night whether they met the princess, and nobody seemed to have actually talked. You did, of course you did, Bill White, yeah. I'm sure she made a beeline across the room to seek you out. Anyway, it's great to have everybody here today, and we want to make sure you get a chance to see as much of the Port of New Bedford, as much of the City of New Bedford as possible. I understand your tour guide for the museum, former Mayor John Bullard, has already introduced you to the city's history. I'm sure a number of you had a chance to meet John last night, and he's done such a great job as the chair of the New Bedford Ocean Cluster. And I really want to thank Jennifer Downing, the executive director of the NBOC, for all of her great work in orchestrating this. And welcome all of you, welcome Ralph, welcome everybody to our city. We've been working really hard over the last decade to position New Bedford to be a leader in the offshore wind industry. We've worked very closely with the likes of the Mass CEC, where Bill used to work, and the offshore wind program is now headed up ably by Bruce Carlisle. And the thrust of it is the reason we've done this over the years is, we see offshore wind as having the potential that was realized in older ports in Northern Europe, like the ones we've laid eyes on, Cuxhaven, Bremerhaven, Hull, and Grimsby, and so many others, Esbjerg. And we think that as an older industrial city in the United States that sits on its own bottom, you've experienced today, we're not in the Boston area, we are further afield, that we have to compete hard, and we have to compete by leveraging what we already do well. And what we already do well, very, very well, better than anybody, is what's right out there. New Bedford is America's largest commercial fishing port, the center of commercial fishing on the East Coast. We have a very active harbor. What we do out on the water, we do better than anybody else in America, hands down. But we also know that in order for our city to thrive in the long run, we have to diversify what we do. We have to, by leveraging what we already do well. And so offshore wind for us had that appeal as an industry that could attract a great deal of capital and by extension job opportunities for our residents. And that's the work we've been in for some 10 years now. And we're very excited about the liftoff of the industry here. And now, after years of planning, hard investment in the port, development of workforce training programs, getting everybody here conversant in offshore wind, it's happening. And so our job now is to continue to evangelize the opportunity that New Bedford presents in this industry. So let me just say a couple of things. Let me give you a little bit of a sales pitch for New Bedford. You've heard a fair amount already, but as the mayor, at the top of my job description is, cheerleader in chief. This is what I do. So let me talk a little bit about that, and then we'll allow the rest of the program to proceed. Obviously, you've all looked at the maps. New Bedford has, New Bedford's advantages start with a geographic advantage. We're the closest industrial port to the center mass of wind energy areas on the East Coast. And that is an immutable fact. Unless the wind patterns on the East Coast change dramatically sometime soon, that is something that will continue to be an advantage for us for the foreseeable future. And that's, we're certainly trying to leverage that. But it goes far beyond geographic advantage. There's the infrastructure that I mentioned, the New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, something that Bill and Bruce and so many others have spent a lot of time developing over the years. That is America's first purpose-built port facility for offshore wind deployment, and it's been there for a few years now, not fully utilized until next year when Vineyard Wind 1 starts, and they were really excited about that prospect. But that is a cornerstone of the offshore wind infrastructure, and we've been adding to that. The Foss facility that just is in the process of being opened up just up the street, another 25 acres headed up by Andrew Saunders, who's done a fabulous job pulling together the capital to get that project off the ground, is New Bedford's second deployment facility. So I think we're pitching a shutout so far, 2-0. Two deployment facilities in New Bedford, 0 really in effect for the rest of the East Coast, but we won't talk about them. Therein lies a huge advantage for us still. And then there's all the infrastructure up and down the harbor, which you can get a good glance at. I just recommend to all of you to go outside on the balcony and take a look up and down the harbor and see all the activity that goes on here. It's really a great this is a great backdrop for what we're talking about today. There's a whole lot of places up and down the harbor, and on the other side of the harbor for O&M vessels, for feeder barges, for all manner of service vessels to tie up, and we're positioning all those facilities for that purpose. So infrastructure is big, a lot of dredging going on. We can give you the detail if you'd like. There's the workforce. This America's best maritime workforce, hands down. Our folks know what they're doing on the water, and there is an ecosystem in this port that is culturally aligned to seafaring. This seafaring is in the blood of this place. We are oriented toward the sea. We have been since the city's inception in the 18th century, and it's what we do well. New Bedford is a seaport, period, full stop, and you will find here folks who can serve your needs very well. Thank you very much. Whatever it is, if it's out on the water, we do it. The other thing I'll just say is that when it comes to foreign investment, we really strive to make it easy on folks to plant the flag here. It's really important that we do it seamlessly. So, you talk to Tony Sapienza, the chair of the Economic Development Council, who happens to also be the chair of this, the board of this museum, by the way. So no accident that we're having this event here, thanks to Tony, as well as the EDC's executive director, Derek Santos. We strive to make it easy for business, wherever business is from, to get going here. We take a whole lot of pride in that. We've set up the New Bedford Ocean cluster so that it can be a one-stop shop. If any of you have done work in Esbjerg, Denmark, right, or Granada, Denmark, actually, and worked with the folks there and how that place has been able to grow a number of small businesses in the offshore wind space and get a lot of foreign investment lined up. It's in part because of the one-stop shop that they have set up for folks who wish to do business there. We've modeled the NBOC on that. So if you're familiar with that, that's what we're trying to do. We want you to be able to pick up the phone, call Jennifer and say, I need the following. I need 20 sandwiches. I need 20 welders. I need 20 hotel rooms. I need 20 boats, whatever it is. We want you to be able to do that seamlessly. And so that's why we're set up that way. The last thing I'll just say about my city, and I am biased, and this is the punctuating point of my sales pitch to you, and that is this. New Bedford is just a great place to live. This is, and especially now post-pandemic, when people are trying to get away from the larger cities but still want to have some urbanity in their lives, the architecture, the walkability, the restaurants, the entertainment. We have all that without the externalities of big cities. We don't have real traffic. We don't have big city levels of gun violence. The cost of living here is very, very reasonable, especially compared to the city where you're just stuck in traffic. This is a place where you can have your cake and eat it too. And so I just commend that to you as you think about where you want to set up. We take a lot of pride in the work that we've done over the years to move ourselves forward, and we're getting there. We're really eager to start to see the first project through and to really build on that. And we hope that you take a good look at us and that you can be part of it. It's an exciting time here for us, as it was in places in Europe, in Denmark and Belgium and Germany and the UK and so forth when offshore wind arrived there. So ask questions. You'll have time. Poke around, kick the tires, and we want to be of service to all of you. And we hope you have a fabulous time today. Thanks, everybody. Scott Lehman is on the NBOC board, and he is the ward councilor for Ward 5. We're not in Ward 5 now, but he's still, you kind of claim the downtown as well.
We're not. Well, there's a research vessel going out now in about 2 minutes. As it comes about, we'll be able to see a big research vessel, so it's kind of timely. We'll be going out very shortly.
I should have waited 2 more minutes to start your speech. Anyway, have a great time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Mayor Mitchell, for this very warm welcome, and thank you for having us. Sorry for the delay, and indeed, let's blame it on Boston traffic. So we are here with, in town, I'll set the bigger context. We have a Belgian economic mission visiting the United States. We have visited Atlanta, New York, and I made this really silly joke, and then the highlight, Boston. But I should have said New Bedford, of course. So 3 cities, we've brought about 550 people over, multi-sectoral, but at the core, when we were organizing this, we were looking like, what should we really focus on, what's important, what's happening in the United States, and obviously the development of offshore wind in the United States, in Massachusetts, and especially this area, really caught our attention. And we have been following this industry for a while. A lot of our companies are actually actively involved in the first projects here. I think we have representatives here. We have representatives of the larger Belgian offshore cluster there. So we brought, I think, an interesting mix of people to your city. I just wanted to thank you for your hospitality. You have a great team working for you. Maybe one last thing I wanted to share with you. Last night, we had indeed that event in Boston where the governor was there. He was hosting, Chris was attending as well. And we hadn't planned this, but I was noticing in every speech, every speaker, New Bedford came up. So it's obviously on a lot of people's minds.
Just as I wrote it.
Well, you briefed a lot of people very well, so I think it came naturally, obviously. But yeah, New Bedford is on people's minds, so we're very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. So just to make you aware of our agenda, we are switching a couple of items just because we got started a little late today. So I will be presenting after Mr. Bill White. I'm going to invite Mr. Bill White of Avangard Renewables in a moment. I'm going to say a few words about you as well, Bill, before you take the podium. Bill is Avangard Renewables President of Offshore Wind and CEO. Prior to Avangrid, Bill was president of and CEO of ENBW North America, the U.S. subsidiary of a German utility and offshore wind developer. Previously, Bill was a key leader in the 10-year effort to develop the Massachusetts offshore wind market, where he led the state's efforts on the federal leasing process for the offshore wind development, as well as transmission planning, environmental surveys, supply chain, workforce development efforts, and stakeholder engagement related efforts to offshore wind. Additionally, Bill led the construction of the New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, a first-in-the-nation facility specifically designed for the staging, assembly, and deployment of offshore wind projects. He also served in the White House as a special assistant to the president during the Clinton administration and worked at the U.S. Department of State. He's a graduate of Boston College's School of Management and Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government. Thank you for being here, Bill, and I give you the stage.
All right.
I'm going to set it. Sorry, I'm just going to get your PowerPoint going here.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great to be here in my second home. I'm a little bit further to the north, but I consider New Bedford to be almost my second home. I also wanted to say, when the former mayor and the current mayor and Jen talked about this visit and mentioned it to me, I wanted to come down. I got a chance to say hello to many of you last night, but there's no better city for offshore wind in the United States. And I just wanted to say about Mayor Mitchell, we have known each other for almost 10 years, and there's no official at any level of government in this country that has more depth of knowledge as well as passion as well as commitment to offshore wind. And I can speak that from experience because it was not too long ago where it was a bit of a lonely conversation here in the United States that me and Bruce and a few others, Ed, were part of. And everyone was like, what do you mean offshore wind? This is not real. This is not going to happen. It's too expensive. Climate change is not real. And so I just wanted to say, when the mayor was elected, he asked for me to come down, and we spent an hour and a half together, and he went through the whole thing, and he saw this. God bless him for doing it, but he saw this as the opportunity that now it is becoming, and it's kind of really a remarkable thing. So God bless you for your courage and your leadership on offshore wind. So it wouldn't have happened without you. I'm going to try to move quickly. You guys got a lot going on. I know some of you are hungry like I am, so let me zip through a couple of slides, and happy to take some questions or however you want to lead. What's next? Oh, should I do that? I can do that.
I can do it for you if you'd like. Just let me know.
All right.
Or you can hit the
I'll
button
do it.
yourself.
I'll do it. You're working hard enough, Jen. All right. So, real quickly, I'm sorry I'm not Belgian, but I'm Spanish. But you guys know Iberdrola is our largest shareholder and a leader not just on offshore, but on clean energy, one of the world's leading sustainable energy companies located in Madrid. Avangard Renewables, the subsidiary of it, we're the third largest developer of onshore wind in the United States. So we've got a total portfolio of 8 gigawatts. Our offshore wind business, which I'm honored to lead, has about a total kind of pipeline of 5 gigawatts. And we've got about 800 people working. The mayor gives me a hard time because we are headquartered in Boston. I'm sorry about that. We've got about at the end of last year, we had about 74 people working for us. We're doubled that just in the last 6 months. The offshore portfolio, we are the leading offshore wind developer in not only in Massachusetts, but also New England. So we talk about this first of the nation Vineyard Wind Project. We're 50% owner of that, partnered with CIP. But we are also 100% owners of the Park City Wind Project, 800 megawatts to Connecticut, and then this beautiful Commonwealth Wind Project, which really kind of makes the dream of offshore wind come true. 1,200 megawatts from Massachusetts, and we're also off the Mid-Atlantic doing Kitty Hawk, another 2.5 gigawatt opportunity, and looking for an opportunity to do business with Virginia and North Carolina. The one thing I wanted to say about offshore wind, and again, back in the day, none of us really were certain. We learned, you know, the mayor took us over to Europe, and we did learn from the experience. But what is really happening now is it's actually becoming true, and New Bedford is really the center of it. And so if you just look at those companies on the left that are all here or coming here, I know Andrew wants all of them to locate in his buildings and in his real estate. But again, there's a lot of action here. That vessel, Mr. Counselor, that just went out, Food Grow, you know, one of the leading companies. That's, by the way, doing work right now for Commonwealth Wind, and it's going out to that WIM site, but based here out of New Bedford. But you just look at all of the action that is happening here in New Bedford. The dream is starting to come true. But I will also say to you that as we look at this, you know, this is where we're located. You know, Mayor, you hit it, you know, the nail on the head. This is really the closest industrial port to these areas. So you're going to see an enormous amount when we talk about Commonwealth Wind. So an enormous amount of job creation, enormous amount of economic investment, enormous amount of homes powered by clean energy, and to address the climate challenge. But we're bringing the first manufacturing cabling facility to the region over next door in Somerset. Prisbean is going to build cables. They're in the midst of permitting at really what was formerly the largest coal-fired power plant in New England. So again, making this dream of this energy transition come true. O&M centers in New Bedford. The mayor, doing his job, spoke to me early and often while we were developing this bid and said, you know, what are you going to do for New Bedford? And God love him for doing it. But we committed, because of him and his, not only his leadership, but his commitment, we committed to do our O&M center. And by the way, that O&M center is not only going to run Vineyard Wind 1, it's going to oversee Park City for Connecticut, it's going to oversee Commonwealth. When we do Kitty Hawk, it's going to, so all of those jobs, those long-term jobs, those 24-hour jobs over the length of this project will be here in New Bedford. We have invested and really proud of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Initiative that we have made commitments to, about $35 million worth of commitments. Let me just go back there for a second. That are here in New Bedford, and working obviously with John and Jen on the New Bedford Ocean Energy Cluster on the DEI initiative, working with Bristol Community College, Mass Maritime, Brown and the Green, and really to think about all those suppliers and how we can diversify their workforce as they expand. I also wanted to say, I talked at the bottom already about the transformation of the Brayton Point Power Facility. I also wanted to just mention briefly, we're also looking to the North Shore of Massachusetts, to the city of Salem, another historic port city, and a commitment to transform another coal-fired power plant there for a marshalling port. I do want to be sensitive to that issue because me and the mayor have talked about it. He thinks everything should be in New Bedford, and that's his right, and I love him for it. But the only comment to make is that this industry is going to be so big, we're going to need to double our capacity to deploy projects, and we're going to need to deploy projects concurrently, as many of you suppliers know, because you're all battling for space and for time. So as we think about the New Bedford Marine Commerce Terminal, which we are going to be using on our next project, and we're excited to be here in a couple months. Our competitors, God love them, they've got this thing booked, this facility booked for the next decade almost. So we needed to kind of find another port to deploy Park City and Commonwealth. Hence why instead of going out of state, we're up in Salem and are committed to working with stakeholders and the mayor up there. And that's it. So you tell me, Jen, how you want to go, if you want to take any questions, or we can... All right. Try to make it snappy and quick. I burnt many of you guys out with my jokes last night, so I have really nothing tonight.
How about the Red Sox?
How about Celtics? Tonight, 9 o'clock. I don't know if anybody can stay awake that late after this week. Any thoughts or questions that I could offer based on my lengthy 10-year plus experience in the great city of New Bedford? I think I saw Luke and the Deme guys. We need to connect you to Derek Santos and looking for sites here in this city. I know Semco is looking for a location. I actually think Food Grow is looking for space here. So there's a lot of action happening. So anything that I can do to be helpful as we go forward, and for the delegation or for obviously the great city of New Bedford and the Mitchell administration, I'm around. Anthony. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. I wore my New Bedford suit today. This is Anthony's suit. So the other thing, in addition to all the benefits of New Bedford, they make great suits. All right, Anthony.
Bill, I'm just curious, what are your thoughts about the next 25 years in offshore wind and in New England particularly, but in the U.S. as a whole?
Yeah. So I think this is kind of the fundamental question. Are we going to do a couple of projects and that's it, or is this going to be a long-term industry? And I think what you've finally seen, many of my European friends have been kind of waiting for this to happen. You finally start to see alignment happening across the political spectrum, on the federal level, on the state level, finally seeing the certainty that we've been waiting for on permitting, and finally starting to see the investments of the European supply chain, thank you very much, for actually coming to the U.S. and finally investing in the U.S. Again, why? Because it's a business opportunity, because you're seeing certainty on procurement, you're seeing the path forward. So I think going forward, I mean, the next 10 years is going to boom. I think we all know that, particularly here in this region. But eventually, we're going to start building out these lease areas south of the vineyard, really, that we just showed there. And so we're going to kind of hit max capacity. And I think what we need to be thinking about is where's the next frontier? And I think that's up in the Gulf of Maine. I think Gulf of Maine will take us through 2030, from 2030 into 2040 and beyond. And then I think you're going to see an enormous amount of operation and maintenance in order to make sure that these facilities work at their maximum capacity, because it's not just about the clean energy, but it's about the economics of the projects. Anyone else? All right, see, they're sick of me from last night. I will give it back over to Jennifer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to switch my PowerPoint. Okay, welcome. Again, my name is Jennifer Downing. I'm the Executive Director of the New Bedford Ocean Cluster. It's great to welcome you here. I am going to speak about the New Bedford Ocean Cluster now. Before I tell you about what we do and how we're supporting the offshore wind industry, I do want to take a moment to say a little bit more about why New Bedford is the ideal location for offshore wind, and just going a little deeper in some of the points that our mayor has talked about today. And so first of all, I just want to reiterate the topic of proximity. You can see here that the Port of New Bedford is the closest full-service industrial port to the largest cluster of federal lease areas. This map from BOEM shows New Bedford's proximity to the projects happening now and in the pipeline. Vineyard Wind 1 will be built just about 30 miles from here. So New Bedford's deepwater port is home to the highest commercial fishing port, which we also heard about just a moment ago. Our working waterfront is an economic engine for not only the city, but for the region, supporting approximately 6,800 jobs and an annual economic output of $11.1 billion. The Port of New Bedford has over 200 maritime businesses and a commercial fleet of 500 vessels, an active cargo shipping industry, bulk and break bulk cargo facilities, numerous shipyards, and vessel repair facilities. So these are established marine vendors right here on the water. They know how to do business on the water and off the water, and they can transfer their skills and experience to the offshore wind industry. The port has easy access to the maritime corridor from Atlantic and European ports and is located at a key juncture to the short sea and international shipping routes. The port has close access to interstate highways, which you saw on your way here. We will have rail access very soon, and we also have our own regional airport right here in New Bedford. So it's easy to get here and to travel here, aside from some of the traffic you're experiencing in Boston. Portions of our waterfront here in New Bedford and in the town of Fairhaven, which you can see right across the water here, have been classified as designated port areas, and this means that areas of our port are considered high priority areas for state and federal investment, particularly as it relates to marine and commercial uses. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in our port over the last 8 years, and again, lots of thanks to our mayor for his leadership and advocacy around those infrastructure investments, and we anticipate many more investments in the future. Oops. So you've already heard we have some key port infrastructure here in New Bedford already in place and ready to support the offshore wind industry. And we have other facilities here that can support O&M operations. This picture here is the Marine Commerce Terminal, which you'll be visiting on the port tour this afternoon. This terminal is managed by Massachusetts CEC, and Bruce Carlisle is here today, and I'm sure we'll be happy to answer any questions about the facility for you. It's a multi-purpose facility designed to support the construction, assembly, and deployment of offshore wind projects. It's the first of its kind in the U.S. It handles bulk and break bulk, container shipping, and large specialty cargo. And thanks to a recent $30 million investment by the state, the facility is going to be getting more improvements and to expand what it can do to support offshore wind. Most recently in offshore wind development infrastructure is the New Bedford Foss Marine Terminal. This is a rendering of what the facility will look like. Andrew Saunders is here, who was really key in making this happen. Again, would be happy to speak with you about the facility, but just to say a few words about that, the terminal, it's slated to open in March 2023. It's going to provide storage and laydown yards for equipment and materials, berth facilities for tug and barge operations. It will host crew transfer vessels and service operation vessel services. It will have office space for project teams, and Marine Coordination Center for technicians in offshore wind projects. New Bedford's economy and culture has been long tied to the sea. Our workforce here in New Bedford, they know how to handle onshore and offshore operations. They know how to weld, they know how to perform as electricians, captain vessels, handle heavy equipment. They understand how to work on and off the water, and how to handle the sea's tough conditions. Big advantage in New Bedford. And then, we have a solid network in this area of highly regarded academic and workforce institutions that are actively preparing students and workers now to enter offshore wind. Bristol Community College has been a leader in this regard. They've been offering credited offshore wind technology certificates for several years now. And most exciting, announced recently the establishment of the National Offshore Wind Institute, which will be located right here in New Bedford on the water. NAUI has a close partnership with Maersk Training in Denmark, so its offerings will draw from Europe's decades of experience. They'll also be offering GWO, basic and advanced safety, and other necessary trainings to prepare our workforce to dive into this industry. UMass Dartmouth, also showed there, is a Tier 1 research institution. It has academic and research programs related to advancing the blue economy. Mass Hire, Greater New Bedford Career Center and Workforce Investment Board supports job seekers and employers and is ready to support the offshore wind industry now in jobs. I see James Oliveira in the back. He'd be happy to tell you more, and he's also on our panel later to talk about workforce development. Mass Maritime Academy, has established its Maritime Center for Responsible Energy to deliver renewable energy-related trainings to students, and I know the DEME folks in here know that well. It was really exciting to see you sign your MOU yesterday with Mass Maritime. And finally, we have the largest vocational high school right here in New Bedford. It's the largest vocational high school in the state, and they're offering now marine technology programs for their students. The mayor mentioned the city's strong commitment to offshore wind, and I want to emphasize that again. We haven't yet enough. But economic development agencies in the city have really been working for well over a decade to position New Bedford for the arrival of the offshore wind industry, really led under the leadership of the New Bedford Economic Development Council. Derek Santos is here today, as well as our New Bedford Port Authority. John Regan, I think, is here as well today and can tell you a little bit more about that work that led up to this. And thanks to their leadership and hard work and dedication to this industry, it has landed here, as we've heard. We have 3 projects that are deploying and staging out of the Marine Commerce Terminal, so Vineyard Wind 1, also both of Mayflower Wind's projects in the pipeline will be deploying here. As Bill stated, Avangard Renewables will be setting up operations here in New Bedford. Denmark-based Semco is one of their contracts that will be doing work here. And GE Renewables, as part of Vineyard Wind 1, will be setting up operations in New Bedford by the end of the year, and they'll be stationed down at the terminal as well. And then, as you heard from the governor last night, we have strong political commitment at the state level as well. Massachusetts has been a leader in offshore wind. In 2016, the state passed comprehensive energy legislation that committed to procuring 5,600 megawatts of offshore wind by 2035. And to date, the state has procured a total of 3,200 megawatts, so there's more procurements coming. And then finally, we have to talk about quality of life, or I need to mention it again. New Bedford offers a quality of life like really no other. The cost of living is substantially less expensive here in New Bedford than in the Boston area of Massachusetts. We have excellent restaurants, numerous cultural festivals throughout the year, and a wonderful sense of community that really can't be matched anywhere else. We have a culturally rich city and downtown, historic downtown area, which you can see clearly, but we're also surrounded by very quiet rural towns and beautiful beaches. So it's a really nice place to call home. So we are very confident in our assets, in our many advantages, our coastal position, our marine knowledge base, our landside capacity. These advantages and the arrival of offshore wind really signal to many that the creation of an ocean cluster modeled after what has been successfully done in Europe and other areas of the world would serve to increase the city's economic growth and solidify our position not as just a fishing port, but as a true ocean economy. So thanks to the foresight of the mayor's administration and his leadership, the New Bedford Economic Development Council and others, the ocean cluster was formally launched in 2021. The Port of New Bedford is our focal point, but New Bedford is a regional and state effort. Our approach is to work collaboratively with the private sector, the public sector, and academic institutions to establish Greater New Bedford as a leading blue economy on the East Coast through a strategic focus on 4 interrelated industry pillars. And those are aquaculture, commercial fishing and processing, innovation and technology, and offshore renewable energy. We know that cluster development is most vibrant when insights and skills and technologies come together and merge. So an intentional focus of the New Bedford Ocean Cluster is not just strengthening and growing each of our 4 industry pillars, but also promoting their intersection whenever we can. We follow a very collaborative team approach here at the cluster and work very closely with local economic development agencies, but also state agencies like the Massachusetts Office of International Trade and Investment, MOITI. Mark Sullivan is here, and he has been an incredible resource for the New Bedford Ocean Cluster as we've been meeting foreign companies and supporting them in understanding what kind of financial and tax incentives that they have so that they can enter the U.S. market easy and with a number of supports. We also work with the Mass CEC, obviously, and Mass Development and others. So, and also, as you witnessed last night, we're developing partnerships with other ocean innovation clusters, both here in the States and overseas, to support our work as we continue to grow. So a primary focus of the New Bedford Ocean Cluster's offshore wind program is supporting the development of a local offshore wind supply chain. To date, to that end, in late 2021, we launched the Act Local program in partnership with Vineyard Wind and the Massachusetts CEC to connect OEMs and Tier 1 companies with local businesses in Greater New Bedford that are interested and able to participate in the offshore wind supply chain. The program is really aiming to be a streamlined approach to business matchmaking that attempts to break down barriers of entry into the offshore wind industry for local companies by identifying opportunities, bringing information to local businesses, and assisting those businesses in getting the resources they need to enter the industry. This little chart here sort of shows how the work flows in the Act Local program. What we're trying to do is take major requests for proposals that are issued by OEMs and Tier 1 companies and then break them down into well-defined work scopes using common language and allowing local companies to understand how their products and services might align and easily self-identify to potential bidders. We have an online portal that we're using. Once these proposals are starting to be released from OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers, we will encourage those companies to upload their scopes of work and then also try to encourage local companies to do their bidding through this portal. So it's a lot more streamlined. We also disseminate information about these opportunities through the help of community lead partners. We have several of them that we're working closely with, the New Bedford, and these are organizations that have very strong, robust networks with the business community. So we're leveraging their networks to help us get the word out. New Bedford Economic Development Council, for instance, the One South Coast Chamber of Commerce is another one. Mass MEP is another organization we're working with, as well as the Workforce Investment Board. Meet the Buyer events and community outreach forums also help us to deliver information. We're doing these on a regular basis so that we can continue to inform and educate the supply chain about opportunities. So to further develop economic growth for New Bedford and to address what there will be supply chain gaps inevitably, and so to address this, the NBOC is also serving as a one-stop shop and first point of contact for companies interested in doing business here. So I'll begin to wrap up my presentation today, but I just want to say a few more words about how we can help you if your company decides to locate or would like to explore locating in New Bedford. First of all, we want you to know that if you contact the NBOC, you will get a quick, professional response. A new business looking to get established here can trust that the New Bedford Ocean Cluster and our partners are going to help you in your efforts. We're going to help you not only to lower the risk, but increase your opportunity around doing business here. Whether it's helping you to identify office space or getting you local data to help you put your market entry plans together, research on local business conditions that would be helpful for you to make the right decisions. We're your organization that wants to at least get you started in that work. The New Bedford Ocean Cluster is positioned to do this because we are a well-connected local organization on the ground with close ties to the business community. We also have established relationships with offshore wind developers, top-tier suppliers, and educational and workforce institutions, as well as government agencies. In fact, I want to mention we are working very closely with Exodus Group, which is a global energy consultancy firm with significant offshore wind experience both overseas and nationally to help us on the technical side of this work. So we've got that resource we're working with as well. So once your business gets here, we realize that it can be very complicated to navigate regulations, as well as the many benefits available to you to ensure your success. The NBOC is going to walk your company through the process, and if we don't have the answers, we're going to point you in the direction to where you can get those answers. Again, can't emphasize enough our partnership with MOIDI, the Massachusetts Office for International Trade and Investment, to support you in that process. So I'll just end by saying, once you're established in New Bedford, I'm hoping you will establish in New Bedford, you will be a part of a growing, robust marine industry network through the NBOC. That will be a long-term value to you and your business, including supporting your collaboration, potential joint ventures, cross-promotions, events for networking, information sharing, and knowledge building. You also have representation through the New Bedford Ocean Cluster on a local, national, and global scale to support your business and the industry overall. So I want to thank you for your time today, and if I can answer any questions about the NBOC, be happy to do that. And if I can't answer your question, I have a lot of people in the room who can. Yes, sure.
Well, congratulations with your beautiful city and the way you express your vision and
Thank you.
the state. So you talk about the one-stop shop. I have two questions, if you don't mind. Do you intend to have your customs clearance here and your pilot service? You may have them already, I don't know. And then the second question...
I didn't hear the first question, though, I'm sorry.
The first question is, so you talked about the one-stop shop.
Yes,
Do you have already, or will you have customs clearance here?
customs clearance,
And
okay.
pilot services. But then my second question is, I'm at the Port of Antwerp with two colleagues here, Port of Antwerp Bruges, because we recently merged with the Bruges port. So what about the draft that you will have or will have?
The draft?
For the deep sea vessels?
Yeah, I'm going to ask John Regan to answer that question about port, or Ed Washburn. There are experts in the room about the port.
And the reason why I'm asking
Yep.
is, will you have coastal access through Boston port? Because
No.
European vessels or South American or Asian vessels may
Right.
come to Boston and have offloading, and then with short sea shipments coming to your beautiful city.
Yes.
I can answer those questions.
Oh, okay.
So the authorized depth of the harbor is 32 feet, and right now it's operating at just under 30. So, and the horizontal clearance at the hurricane barrier is 150 feet. And so, some of the folks in the one they bring the feeder barges through that are a little over 100 feet wide, the beam of a little bit more than 100 feet, so to give you a sense of the scale of the vessels here. We can't bring in, container ships that draft, 50 feet, before, but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No.
But whatever you use, we should.
I'm talking about breakboat vessels.
Yeah. So
Break bulk cargo.
No, we do break bulk
Break bulk cargo.
here, right, so right at the state pier, that is a break bulk cargo, so straight out the window. So, and as far as customs clearance goes, that's not a problem. We actually have 2 blocks from here, as Mayor Bullard would tell you, the oldest operating customs house in the United States, built in 1830. If maybe on your tour, you can drive by our customs house. So that's, we coordinate with the Department of Homeland Security. That shouldn't be an issue. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, of course, when business comes, you will
Yeah.
take action to
Yeah.
provide that service.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing, by the way, too, and I don't want to get in the way of lunch. You guys are hungry. But, New Bedford, one unique feature of New Bedford is that it is a federal designated foreign trade zone, so that if you're bringing goods here and that if there's work being done that adds value here, it can be done in a duty-free way. And I know that's something that Andrew Saunders knows a fair amount about, to tell you about over sandwiches that are waiting for me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
What's for lunch?
I can do it on the...
Okay. It looks like lunch still needs to be set up, so grab some more coffee and water, and feel free to get up and do a little networking, get some fresh air, and I'll let you know when lunch is available. Thank you.